Caller, Minister, I'm deeply concerned about the fraudulent activities by vulture funds that are influencing our courts and the land registry in Ireland. Over the past few weeks, I shared crucial details with all TDs, including yourself, Minister, outlining misconduct in the banking system. This misconduct has significantly impacted on our economy and the lives of our many homeowners, family farms and these small businesses. The document provided by Mr. O'Horan, Master of the High Court for many decades actually, have my full support. These documents aim to provide the rights of homeowners, farmers and businesses owners who are suffering due to an unfair system that allows are stacked against them completely. Deceiving the courts and homeowners is a very serious matter, Minister. I hope you agree. Inviting a vulture funds here was bad enough, but to allow them to have this carry on going on is absolutely reprehensible and disgraceful. Fine Gael, now Fianna Fáil and the Greens party allowed the banks to sell off loans without any requirement to update land registry records. This has caused widespread confusion, malpractice and blatant deception, which is causing thousands of families, family farms and homes lose their properties in this country. The courts are complying with a new EU repossession directive meant to protect the interests of those struggling with mortgage arrears. The reason for this is the fact that your government has failed to transpose this EU directive. Why has it not been transposed? Are the banking lobby that strong and the vulture lobby? The courts' non-compliance and government's inaction are very despicable and deeply unfair. It gives distressed borrowers no protection whatever, while it gives a free hand and a massive advantage to the vulture funds. Currently in our country, in Ireland, there is no organisation protecting borrowers, unlike what's available for landlords and tenants under the RTB. Distressed homeowners are facing expensive court procedures, which many cannot afford, and totally unfair then with the might of the banks and the vultures. They can roll out the best of law firms. The EU directive suggests a mediation process that would be fairer to people dealing with the increase at the mortgage arrears. It's imperative that the government enacts this directive into law, preventing vulture funds from continuing their unfair and disgraceful practices. The government must act swiftly to halt the vulture funds from selling more people's homes. Judges have to be upskilled and updated on the law that's there since 2019 in Europe. And why aren't we paying heed to that? I mean, we need, I've often said this, we need kind of an upskilling and re-educating of our judiciary every so often, because laws change. It's very hard to keep up with them. Currently, the laws are not being enforced in our courts. This cannot be allowed to go on, Minister. The lawyers representing the vulture funds are providing false evidence in repossession cases. Thank you, Deputy. Such significant harm to people and their homes, while the government remains silent. This cannot be allowed to continue either.
Thank you. Minister, please.
Thanks for raising this, Deputy McGrath. So, as you know, as well as myself and everyone in the House here, we've come through a decade to 15 years. This was quite traumatic in terms of the people's personal finances and also the situation many people across this country in terms of their personal lives or their business lives found themselves in as a result of mortgages and debts that they would have accumulated in good faith, but which as a result of the economy and the financial crash in 07-08 found themselves in very precarious situations. And many people have the scars on their back that reflect that period as well. From a government point of view, Deputy McGrath, something that we engage with the financial authorities on, and the Central Bank have a strong role in relation to as well. And there's been significant changes in the law in recent years in relation to providing oversight and protections for those that have debts, those that have mortgages or those that have business debts as well, in terms of engaging in depth and trying to give the capacity and opportunity and find pathways for people to come through and to maintain their businesses and particularly to maintain their homes. It's really important that's the case. It is overseen and those laws that are in place then are overseen by our judicial system, and it's important that people have fair play. Thankfully, we've seen, as a result of the good management of the economy and getting into a good position in relation to employment and good fiscal management at government level, the economy recover and those issues help to become resolved and people get into a better situation. But it is important we keep a close eye on this, Deputy McGrath. It is important people get fair play in relation to their engagement with financial institutions and in relation to the oversight bodies that we have in place and the laws and regulations we have in place, and which have been significantly adjusted from what they were 10 plus years ago, that they do serve the public well, while making sure we have a fair system in terms of financial engagements and contracts as well. Thanks.
Since I issued this statement 2 weeks ago, my office and myself are inundated with families from all over the 26 counties, and you all know about these, but why aren't you dealing with them? It's shocking that we can transpose any kind of directive that comes from Europe when it comes to environment or as anti-farmer, but this is a EU directive that hasn't been transposed, and it must be transposed. It's shameful that you'd stand up and give me those answers here today, because you're not dealing with it. 10 years on, the amount of lives that have been lost, the amount of suicides, the amount of marriage breakups, the amount of mental health issues, and the amount of repossessions and outright blackguarding of families that we fought in this country to get our freedom, and to allow the vultures carry on like this and the big banking houses, which your government softly won't deal with. It's just impossible that you won't give a date here that you would immediate transposition of this EU directive into Irish law. Why? Who are you protecting? I won't say who you're loyal to. You know what, that dropped me before. Who are you protecting? You're not loyal to the people, Nadine and Nairn, that you elected you in here today. So I'm pleading with the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Finance to act here, to stop this sabotaging and plundering. It's worse than they did in Cromwell's time, our families and our people, our businesses and their homes and everything else, to make money from the stock exchange in New York. And I fully support Ed Honan in his travels to New York to expose this carry-on at the stock exchange there. This must be stopped. It's outright criminal.
Minister, please.
I'll get you an up-to-date note, Deputy McGrath, in relation to the specific issue you raised in relation to the transposition of that directive. But listen, what I would say overall, and as I mentioned previously, the objective of the government is to work to provide strong support to those who find themselves in financial arrangements, either in relation to a mortgage for a property or businesses likewise. And there's strong provisions now and relevant statutory consumer protection codes in place, including the Consumer Protection Code and the Code of Conduct on Mortgage Arrears as well. It is something at government level that Minister for Finance Michael McGrath continues to monitor. And importantly so. But the landscape and the protections have changed significantly, and it's something we continue to look at in government. And it is about protecting the people in every way we can. That means giving people protection in relation to the contracts they enter. It also means that there's a business environment that there's confidence around and that there's security around as well. And that's something that we as a government want to make sure we maintain. Thank you, Deputy McGrath.